Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Donald Trump Time Travel Matrix. Connections so bizarre, yet so consistent that they'll leave you scratching your head. Now, time travel is not what you think, and so stay tuned as we begin to break this down. Now, when I first went down the Donald Trump time travel rabbit hole, I was a little bit skeptical. Some of the first evidence that started to come out over the last 2 or 3 years, I didn't really make the connections. I thought, oh, there's no way. There's no way. And then the Holy Spirit revealed to me that time travel is not what you think, that it's something different, that it's really about spirit possession. Demons inhabiting host bodies down throughout history to the present. Demons going all the way back to, of course, the time of Jesus and before, all the way back to the time of the flood. And by the end of it all, everything came together. All of the symbolism in the Hollywood media that was pointing to one man. Now, today's show will be a recap of a lot of the work that we've done on the Donald Trump time travel matrix, as well as the recent pinnacle of it all, with the death of his wife, Ivana. Now, let's pull up this first image that I have for you guys, because this is where our journey begins today. A seeming acknowledgement of the Back to the Future connection to the Donald Trump family. This just released hours ago. Now, is this gaslighting? Of course it is. But there's something to this, isn't there? And we scheduled this show yesterday, and then I go on the news, and lo and behold, I'm researching, and it says, DeLorean styled in Back to the Future at Trump Bedminster. Literally confirming the connection. Look at this. Let's take a look at this image. 54. That's loaded. Connections to Studio 54. 8 events, smaller fields, shotgun starts. Now, of course, the 54 means something else in this context, but we're reading between the lines, aren't we? There seems to be, what is that, a fishing pole? No, that's just the wire holding this display up. Now, you're going to understand why this DeLorean at the golf course is important for many, many reasons as we begin to break this down. What does this say? Welcome volunteers. Okay. Let's read what this has to say. And this is where our rabbit hole journey begins today. Let me make sure you guys are with me. We've got a full show today. Lots and lots of evidence, recaps. We're going to get into Ivana, where she was buried, at the DeLorean golf course, and everything else today. Unbelievable. Bedminster, New Jersey. When you talk through the fan village at Trump National Golf Club Bedminster for this week's Live golf event, you see everything from various food trucks and golf activities to a merchandise tent and a DeLorean time machine? Question mark. A car styled after the DeLorean DMC-12, made famous by the Back to the Future movie franchise, might appear to be out of place, but it's actually right at home. The DeLorean has a unique tie to the course that's playing host to the Greg Norman-led and Saudi Arabia-funded series, seeing as the property used to be the home of the vehicle's namesake. Yes, Trump purchased the property from John DeLorean, which is the place where Ivana is now buried. Before he was president of the United States, Donald Trump bought the 500-plus acre former estate of the automaker John DeLorean in 2002, which at the time was a golf course construction project on the verge of collapse. Trump kept the same plans for the golf course, and was purely the money man to lift the project back on its feet, paying $35 million for the property. Those people had a great vision, but didn't quite have the funding, he said at the time. According to NJ.com, DeLorean's mansion was renovated as the clubhouse with the garage as the golf shop. There's a helipad just off the 15th fairway, a pool, cottages for guests, not to mention Trump's private residence, as well as a handful of goats for tax purposes. Goats. Now, what does this say up here? DeLorean and his former wife, Christina Ferrar, bought the property in 1981, just as a former General Motors Wunderkind was launching the manufacture of his distinctive stainless steel sports car with gull wing doors. As history now knows, the DeLorean Motor Company failed, and DeLorean was charged with cocaine trafficking in an attempt to raise money for his car company. Although DeLorean was eventually acquitted, the ordeal cost him his marriage and his financial stability. Now, more on this golf course. 36-hole golf course was designed by Tom Fazio and Tom Fazio II, opened in 2004. Trump's daughter Ivanka and Jared were married here in 2009. Property was approved in 2015 to also have a plot for a family cemetery, and Trump's ex-wife Ivana reportedly was buried there after her recent death. This is a brand new article just released hours ago. Now, I put together this playlist of all of the time travel work that we have done on this channel with regards to Donald Trump. There's Back to the Future stuff in here. There's Quantum Leap stuff in here. And before we get into the details of why Ivana was buried at DeLorean's golf course, Back to the Future, I want to go over some of these videos and just give you a quick summary so you can see all the work in its entirety and you can decide what all this means. Now I'll put the link to this playlist in the pinned comment, of course, so you can check this out. Many of you have already got into this playlist. It's 26 videos, some of them short, some of them long, but you could get through this playlist in a day and see for yourself. Now, in my opinion, this is some of the most revealing work on this channel because it documents and details the entire body of evidence. Let's begin with this first video here. Make this a little bit smaller for you guys so you can see this. Now, in this video, we actually compare Trump's mother and her clan, the Clan McLeod. We compare that with the Highlander Clan McLeod. Now, both have the same battle flag design. It's basically a mountain on fire. This confirms that the whole Highlander series was all about Clan McLeod and the Trump family. Now, this next video compares the Bikers for Trump to Biff's Pleasure Palace in Back to the Future. And in that particular movie, Biff's gosh, it's a word sandwich. Biff's Pleasure Palace is surrounded by bikers. All of you remember the scene. We broke that scene down in fine detail and showed you the comparisons between the two, which are undeniable. And then there was this video, Gulliver's Travels. Now, in this video, the artist who painted the scenes in the original animation, Gulliver's Travels, from decades and decades ago, also painted the murals at Mar-a-Lago. Now, why is this important? Well, because it's always been about the giants, hasn't it? The fallen angels. Then we get into this video. This is the movie Paycheck. And the DeLorean was a Lotus. That was the design that John DeLorean based it off of, the basic shape of another card called a Lotus. And in this video, we talk about the Isle of Lewis being the same as the Isle of Lotus. In fact, the root word of Lewis comes from Leodis, Leodis, which sounds like lotus. And of course, MacLeod, Leod, is the first four letters of Leodis. Clan MacLeod is Clan MacLotus. You guys. Lady of the United States, liar of the United States, whatever you want to call it. It's all happening right now. And it's all connected. Then we go down here. Let's skip ahead a few. I'm not going to go over every single one of these videos, but I want to give you a summary so you can see all of the evidence. This is Planet of the Apes, and what we have in this decode is a time-traveling Apollo's arrow. As Charlton Heston lands in this arrow-like Apollo rocket on an Apollo mission, and finds himself in another timeline where apes rule the world and humans can't speak. Charlton Heston was the Omega Man, the bringer of the cure and the bringer of the disease, which is what Apollo does. And at the end of Planet of the Apes, Abraham Lincoln, becomes an ape. So all you do is take the B and you rotate it and it becomes a P. Abe, ape. Unbelievable. Now, in this decode, Charlton Heston is muzzled to shut him up. As you can see in the picture here, he's wearing a mask. Humans lose their cognitive abilities while the apes are elevated in the food chain. And in this decode, I actually explain how this movie, the whole Planet of the Apes franchise, was based off of a real-life situation, an outbreak during the polio spamdemic. Was the outbreak caused by the polio spamdemic? No. The outbreak was something that happened with the polio smack-scenes. They were infected with the simian flu, which was basically an ape flu. And a lot of people got sick. This is history. You can read about it. It actually happened. And this is what happens when you mix smack scenes with animals and then put them into humans. Things like this happen. Now you notice the word polio sounds like Apollo, and there's a reason for that. Bringer of disease, bringer of cure. Now this next one is along the same lines of Apollo, this time in a different TV series called Battlestar Galactica. And, excuse me, in this reboot series, because it's a reboot, because there was an original Battlestar Galactica series in the 1980s, here's a reboot, and in this one, a remnant of humans are basically being chased across the galaxy by an artificially intelligent army of robots that humans actually created. The robots then became self-aware, kind of like in the Terminator franchise storyline, and they started coming after the humans to annihilate them. Now, the only hope of these humans is to escape on one of the last ships in the fleet to survive the onslaught from the artificial intelligence, and they basically hopscotch across the universe to try to find Apollo's arrow. Literally, they go into a tomb, I think it's the tomb of Athena, they find Apollo's arrow, which opens up a portal that takes them to Earth. Are you starting to see the theme yet? Are you starting to see the theme? Across decades of film history, it's the same theme. Apollo bringing disease and cure. And there's always a transformation from human to something else. And it almost always involves a twin. In Battlestar Galactica, there were the artificial intelligence were clones. They were twins. See, was there a twin aspect in this Planet of the Apes? Yes, 2 timelines. There was a monkey Abraham Lincoln and a regular Abraham Lincoln. So yes, the twinning effect, and all that has to do with twin spirits, the demonic spirit inhabiting the human host body. Here's another twinning aspect, this time in a different TV series. This one was from the 1960s or 70s, called Time Tunnel, I believe it was called. And in this episode, again, Abraham Lincoln appears. There's something about him. There's something about Abraham Lincoln. They go back to the time before he was shot. And there, I believe they find 2 Lincolns, twins, again, in the series Time Tunnel. Now, let's skip down a couple here. This is one of the most major discoveries on this channel, the 5th of November date, which also, of course, appears in Back to the Future on the readout inside the DeLorean. What is the 5th of November? Well, it's a Celtic pagan festival of Samhain, which is actually spelled Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain. And this 5th of November date shows up in multiple time travel films. So I think we found it in probably 5 time travel films, of course, including Back to the Future. Films spanning decades, but yet the same date appears. Now, what is the 5th of November? Well, this is when evil spirits time travel. When the veil is lowest, they travel into host bodies, usually via some kind of portal, standing stones usually, or through a forest or a tree portal. Now we'll come back to this concept of standing stones a little bit later in the show, because 77 degrees away and 14 miles from the house that Trump's mother was born in were the standing stones of Callanish. 77 degrees away and 14 miles, which is 7 and 7 miles. Exactly, because we measured it in Google Earth in one of these videos in this playlist. Now, these standing stones of Callanish actually appear in the time travel series called Outlander. And a woman by the name of Claire Fraser, she's the time traveler in the series, who was born 88 days, with 88 days left in the year. And Marianne McLeod was 88 years old when she passed away. I believe that Marianne McLeod, Trump's mother, is basically the character Claire Fraser in Outlander. It's basically who they were trying to go for when they were casting this. Now, there's this weird aspect to Outlander, because Claire is consistently called a witch. She's accused of being a witch because he's basically a doctor from the future, travels back in time through these standing stones, literally 14 miles from where Trump's mother was born, on the Isle of Lewis, and she's accused over and over again of being a witch. Now, there are real witches that travel through the stones of Callanish as well, but the series basically shows that there's a logical explanation as to why Claire is not a witch. But at the very beginning, the very first episode of the Outlander series, her and her husband walk into this little, I think it's like a hotel or something, and they start asking questions, and they realize that the day that they arrived was Samhain. The lady at the counter actually says it, and she talks about the veil being lowered. So the inference here is that Claire is a witch, and that she has traveled through the stones. Now, let's go down here a little bit. This one was chilling. This was on the Dune films. And I think this is actually from the older Dune film, this Decoding here. Now, what was this about? Well, there's a scene in the original Dune film where the witch basically pokes this boy with a needle. She calls the needle the Gom Jabbar, Gomjabbar. That word translates to forced God's medicine. Gom Jabbar means forced God's medicine, which sounds a whole lot like the smack of the nation to me. Anyway, in this decode, we break down the Scottish prophecy, an ancient Scottish prophecy about the coming ruler from Scotland that would emerge, who would poke his enemies with a dirty needle, a sooty needle, which seems to line up with Trump and the whole smack the nation warp speed to poke millions of Americans. Now, this next video is about the standing stones of Scotland that I mentioned a little bit earlier in this decode. The stones of Callanish. At the 58th degree north parallel. And of course, Trump won the 58th quadrennial presidential election. He wasn't the 58th president. There's a difference. It's the 58th quadrennial presidential election that he won. Got to be clear here because, there's some people a little bit confused about that. Now, these next few videos present the evidence that Trump's mother was one of these travelers in some way, shape, or form. The Highlander series has also many crossover themes to the newer Outlander series. So in this one, we look at the Highlander series. Now, I think in this video we show the guy who wrote the book, Highlander. He was actually invited up to Trump's penthouse. Trump signed his book. So as you are beginning to see, there's much more to all of this than meets the eye. Now, where did the name Biff come up with? Who came up with that name and why? Well, obviously the writers of Back to the Future said that the Biff character was based on Trump when he was a nobody. They literally said that. Well, Trump is Janus too. Janus is also known as Bifrons, which means two faces, and there's where they got the name Biff. Biff Bifrons, two faces. Janus confirmed. So, that's where we break all that down. Now, this video is kind of recent here. This next one, zoom this up a little bit for you guys. The secret of a Biff Tannen. Biff Tannen. This is where they got the whole rest of Biff's names from Hiram Abiff, the original builder, which is kind of like a real estate agent, right? Builder. That's what Trump was, or is. And Hiram Abiff has the word Biff in it, of course, the name Biff. Tannen is a demon that looks like a hydra. Biff Tannen. Now, why is there such a proliferation of information here surrounding this one man? Well, because he would be the gate through which the enemy could enter the human host. The twinning aspect. He was the gate. This is why he's so important. Think about what he was able to do. A bipartisan poke. Even though it was made by him, all of the left people went out and got it too. Now, albeit they got a different brand, but he was the gate that opened it. Made it possible. Was he not? This is why he's so important. This is why we focus on him so much on this channel. It was the greatest deception in human history. And as we sit here today, there are people falling out. There are people falling out. I can't tell you why, but there are people falling out. You know why. And it's being covered up. No one's talking about it because it's being blamed on everything else other than what it was really caused by. Perfectly healthy people. We all know somebody who's fallen out, don't we? And we all know why they are falling out. Now, let's keep going here. A couple more. Now, in this video, we go all the way back to the 1940s. The Queen's World's Fair in Corona Park. And we examined the perisphere, which was a globe and a needle, which basically is a bolus in a needle. We look at a particular syringe that was named after the perisphere and needle. We look at Trump's globe that he has in front of his hotel that was based off of the perisphere and needle. And what was so special about this World's Fair? Well, this was the first Smack the Nation. The polio smack scene. And we found a billboard of the Trump family at this 1940s World Fair. Literally from his grandfather or something, or maybe it was his dad. And it said Trump on it. And there was an RX, like prescription, on the billboard. And it was surrounded by twin pines. And that billboard actually matched the billboard from Back to the Future. Both billboards said the world of tomorrow. Here's another profound video. Donnie Darko is really Donald Trump. Donnie Trump, time traveler. Now, why do I say that? Well, Donald Darko describes time travel as an arrow coming out of his chest, which is Apollo's arrow, the serpent in the chest, spear coming out of the chest, which just so happens to match up with Trump's coat of arms. He's got a man holding a fist, or a fist holding a spear or an arrow coming up out of a square, out of a chest of a coat of arms. And in this Donnie Darko film, he's wearing a Triumph sweater. Now, what are triumphs? Triumphs are arcs of triumph. They're arches. That's what arches are called. They're called arcs of triumph. This very same arch that's in front or behind Trump's military photo, with him standing at the tip of the spear, and behind him is the Arc of Triumph, and under it says, "Many men have come through these portals." Portals. Now, Alec Baldwin once said that Donnie Darko was Trump's favorite movie. You can look that up on YouTube. Baldwin's dressed like a chicken. Now, this next decode is about Mr. Needles, the Mr. Needles character in the Back to the Future film. Mr. Needles says, "You're fired." Sound familiar? Now, this decode right here, again, another very profound decode. Trump time machine in Stargate episode. What was this about? Well, this episode that we found in the Stargate series was all about sterility and depopulation because of a smack scene. And the Stargate address that they went to go to this world where they saw this happening, the Stargate address could be scrambled to spell Trump's name. You can see it right here on the screen. TRUM, and it's F, which was his original name. Now, some of you are just probably blown away right now. Once you see all the evidence together, it's undeniable. But there's no need for fear. There's no need for fear. because we already know that we are saved by belief in Jesus, don't we? Now, this last one here, probably one of the most powerful of the decodes, is from The Devil's Advocate film, which was filmed at Trump's penthouse. And there's also the Quantum Leap episode in which Trump actually appears as himself as a 12-year-old boy. Let's play this one. Because in this Quantum Leap episode, the date that they travel back to is Trump's mother's 46th birthday. Remember, Trump was born in 46. Let's watch this one. Let's see here. I think we just click on it.
I've run into many people, but never over one. Hope you don't mind sharing a cab. In time, I've run into many people.
Now, this is backwards, and that's just how it appeared because probably of, whatever you call it, copyright. But this is the actual caption in the episode of Quantum Leap. And this is Trump's mother's birthday when she was 46 years old. Trump then appears. Let's keep watching this here. Now, when did we upload this video? Let's see here. Now, many of you see bits and pieces of this work on other people's channels. Okay. But this is why I sometimes show you this, just so you know the origin of this. We uploaded this in January of 2019. And this was before the smack scene came to market. This was before the spam-demic, you guys. Now let's watch this here. This is crazy.
Hope you don't mind sharing a cab.
Oh, no problem. It's just right up ahead here on Fifth Avenue.
Where are you going?
Brokers meeting, New York Realtors. Come on, Donald.
Hello, Mr. Trump. Well, there's going to be a lot of money made in real estate in the future.
Brokers meeting, New York Realtors. Come on, Donald.
Hello, Mr. Trump. Well, there's going to be a lot of money made in real estate in the future.
So you heard it there. Sound quality is a little bad, but you can always go back to the episode and see for yourself. 12-year-old Donald, unbelievable foreshadowing. Where they were going to Fifth Avenue is where they're dropped off by the Quantum Leap lead character. And basically, what was I going to say here? Oh, so where was he dropping them off at? Was it 666 Fifth Avenue? You have to wonder, don't you? Which, of course, his son-in-law purchased and then sold. But the Donald Trump 58 Matrix, you won't believe. The Trump Matrix begins in 1958 in this episode of a Western-themed show, which originally aired on CBS. It began making its rounds shortly after Donald Trump was elected president. The episode includes a con man named Walter Trump, who enters a dusty town in Texas to scare the locals into believing that the world will end in a rain of cosmic fire unless they let him build a giant wall to protect them. He says, "I am the only one, trust me. I can build a wall around your homes that nothing will penetrate." The episode was titled "The End of the World." And in fact, it ends with Trump being shot and apparently killed. Now, we've all seen this clip, but what you haven't seen is what I'm about to show you next. There is something about the year 1958, because Trump also appears in a 1992 episode as the deeper because Biff would go on to be depicted as Donald Trump in the 1989 sequel. You begin to wonder, is time travel real? The 58 Matrix goes on because on the eve of the 88th day of the year, March 28th, March 29th is the 88th day of the year, Trump, or Biff, he turns 21 and uses a sports almanac to bet on a horse race. And that is how he wins his first $1 million. How old was the real Trump in 1958? 12, 21. Another Back to the Future mirror. Now this is all a whole lot of script writing acrobatics across multiple episodes to be just some kind of coincidence. So now you may be thinking, did anything weird happen when Trump was 58 years old? And in fact, something did. He married the First Lady of the United States, Melania, on January 22nd, 2005. That's almost exactly 11 years before she would become the First Lady and he would be inaugurated president. And I'll leave you with this last bizarre synchronicity from the film called The Devil's Advocate, and it released on October 17th in the Hebrew year 58.
These are the Republicans of New York.
You know, Barjoon always overstates things.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here. Donald Trump was supposed to be here.
Business emergency. Probably Mark Zuckerman.
What, Hans, you here? I'd like to meet my wife, Marianne. Marianne, this is Pam here.
And here.
Pam here.
Now I'm going to pause it here because Marianne, the wife of Keanu Reeves in The Devil's Advocate, is the same name as Trump's mother. His mother's name is Marianne as well. Sorry about that image. I don't like to show you guys that stuff. Let's click off of here. I don't want to show you guys that stuff. Some people need to see that to understand what's going on with what's really happening in this reality. Okay. Now I've had discussions before we get into Ivana. I've had discussions with people who want the devil to hide in the shadows. So instead of focusing on what's being revealed, they are barking up the wrong tree, criticizing me for watching and decoding these episodes. But as I just demonstrated to you, there's no way I could prove to you all this stuff without showing you this body of work. Is there? No, there is not. You can't just read it out of a script. You have to show people what's happening here. Look at all the millions of Christians that have been deceived by Trump. unless they see this body of work and these uncanny connections to this man, this one man, will they finally wake up. So the people that are wanting me not to do this anymore, or criticizing me, well, you're watching stuff with nudity in it. Do I ever show that to you? Of course not. They want the devil to continue to hide in the shadows. Never forget that, because it's easy to sit here and criticize me, but you're definitely barking up the wrong tree here. Because you want the devil to hide if you don't want this work to be done. Because otherwise no one's seeing it, are they? They're not seeing this. They are completely asleep. These are the same people still indoctrinating their children with Disney. Probably got the full set of Disney films. Take them to all these occult movies, Toy Story, so they could be indoctrinated with that. Same people celebrating Christmas and all the holidays that indoctrinate their children and upset and anger God, because all these holidays are based off of pagan occult counterparts to the holy days. These are the same people criticizing this channel. Run away from those people, because they want the devil to hide. The devil is literally speaking through these people so that he can stay obscured in his madness. Now, that brings us to Ivana, which is what you guys came here to see. And she was buried right here at John DeLorean's golf course. Here's the picture of her burial plot here. Purchased by Trump, as we read earlier in the show today. Purchased this years and years ago. And this is just weird. Why would you even make a plot of graves on a golf course? I guess Trump wanted Ivana to go back to the future. Now, this suggests some kind of transfer of the spirit or some kind of possession. Who knows? Maybe these people figured out a way to move their spirit into another body so they can live another lifetime. Maybe that's what this is all about. And this burying them at this Back to the Future golf course is like a little inside joke that they were able to hop bodies. I think that's what this is about. Now let's break this down by the numbers. We already know that Ivana died on 7/7/7, which is 7/14, right? 7/7/7. Oops. 7/7/7. And she died at 73 years old, which is 7/7/7, 3 times 7. Now let's get into the sixes. There's all kinds of sixes at this golf course. Here's the golf course where she was buried. And she was buried on 7/30, which is 73, which is the opposite. Wait, let me see here. Where was she buried? Let me see here. Oh, here we go. No, I'm sorry, 7/20. 2 sevens. Now, let's get into these sixes. Let's go back up here. This is the golf course. The Trump National Golf Course at Bedminster. This is where the DeLorean was, beginning of the show. And as you can see here, there are 6 times 6 total holes. That's 36. And when they purchased this from John DeLorean, guess how old he was? He was 77 years old when Trump purchased this golf course from him. He died 3 years after that. But the golf course was actually established 18 years before Ivana died. So 6 years before she died, the golf course was established. Now, here's the creepy thing. Trump built these graves on his New Jersey golf course that he purchased from John DeLorean so that he could sell plots to the rich. Now, how creepy is that? This is an article from San Diego Union Tribune, Tribune, from 2012, February 2nd, 2012. The title is, Trump offers golden graves for silver spoon set. Here he is here. And even back then, he was wearing his red hat. Shape of things to come. And this photo is August 8th. So that's 8/8/88. More Back to the Future connections. Let's read this. Remember, this was 2012. They say you can't take it with you when you die, but that's not necessarily true for the wealthiest Americans like Donald Trump. He announces this week he is considering building a 1.5-acre cemetery next to his high-end golf course in Bedminster, where members pay a lifetime fee of as much as $300,000. If they want to stay beyond that, they most likely will pay a membership fee that includes burial. It may be among the pricier final resting places, but if it gets state and local approval, it'd be a bargain compared with some of the country's other swank cemeteries. Putting one's name on the most permanent of marquees can reach several $1,000,000. At the most exclusive cemeteries, a far cry from the median $6,560 for a funeral in 2009. The most recent yearly figure from the National Funeral Directors Association. So they go on to talk about all these other places of where people bury people, but this was his plan back in 2012 to build a cemetery on the golf course. Wow. Now, that's about all I have for you today on Ivana, the golf course, Back to the Future recap. Tomorrow's show will be a decode of the 2005 film called Dark Water. And this film basically reveals the human deprivation ritual that we're all going through right now, which is manufactured fear, causing separation to induce trauma, which will lead to a metamorphosis or some kind of change in our physiology. You're not going to want to miss this show tomorrow. I've already got the montage ready. It's a little bit too long to put up on TikTok, but we'll go through it in fine detail tomorrow. Dark Water. Let me go back in the chat, check in with you guys, and see if we can do a little Q&A before we pop off here. All right. Dark Water is the swamp, you guys. The swamp. So let's see what you guys are up to. A hole in one. Dark water in Scottish is dúb glas. Hey, Daryl. Number 21. Death is a golf game. The whole drain the swamp thing was a joke. Because lotus grow in swamps. Lotus is Lewis, the isle from which he was born. He wasn't going to drain the swamp. He created the swamp. He is the swamp, you guys. Now, tomorrow's show, we're also going to talk about Deadpool as well. There's a scene in which Deadpool gets killed and thrown down a water tank or a cooling tower from nuclear power plant. So all that's going to get broke down tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Now, I understand there's been some change in the legislation for pop sticks. And just understand that the Senate hasn't approved that yet. They probably won't. At some point, we will probably cover that because that's huge because it was passed by the House. And so the question is, what are they going to do with all these millions of pop sticks? No one's talking about that yet. And if they do plan on collecting those or taking them back, what about all the people who spent thousands of dollars to buy one of these pop sticks? Are they going to give them money back for it? Think about this for a second, you guys. We're talking millions, billions, maybe even into the trillions of dollars that they would have to reimburse people for all the money they spent on their pop sticks. You guys, these pop sticks are like $1,000 or $2,000 each for one of these pop sticks. Who's going to pay for that? Tax dollars? It was a big setup, wasn't it? If they actually plan on making these illegal, something's going to have to be done with all of these things, isn't there? And they can't just tell people they're worth nothing and you got to throw them in a big grinder and grind them all up into nothing. You can't do that after people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on these things. So this is why it's probably not going to happen. How much do these cost, you guys? How much do the pop sticks cost? Somebody please help people in the chat that don't know what I'm talking about when I say pop stick. Thanks, Christine. How much do the ones that they're talking about banning, how much do those cost? Because I don't know, and I don't want to pull it up on the internet here. But let me know, for those of you that have one of these or know somebody that has one, how much they cost. They've got to be in the thousands of dollars by now. Because some of the smaller pop sticks that you hold in your hand, okay, so $1,500. So there you go. Couple grand. $2,000 easy. So who's going to reimburse these people for their investment? How many of these are out there? Probably, I mean, I'm guessing there's got to be at least 1 million. So what's 1 million times 2,000? Let me do the math on that. 1 million times $2,000. Pull out my handy dandy calculator here. Which doesn't want to work right now. Okay. Let's see here. Somebody help me here. Why doesn't my calculator work? Okay. We'll just do it on the screen here. Calculator. All right. $1 million, or 1 million, I'm sorry, 1 million. Let's just say there's 1 million of these pop sticks out there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's 1 million. There's probably way more, but let's just say there's 1 million of them. Times $2,000 equals, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's $2 billion, or is that $2 trillion? I think that's $2 billion. So $2 billion in tax dollars just to reimburse everybody for their investment. Now, do we really think they're going to reimburse these people? Probably not. But if they don't, there's going to be a lot of anger if this happens. I can imagine there would probably be some violence. You know? Okay, I'll tell you a fish story before we pop off of here. You guys are going to laugh, because it actually ties into what we're talking about. So I go to my favorite fishing hole because, like I told you the other day, I threw out a night crawler under a bobber and I was catching panfish by the dozen. And I'm like, oh, finally, I found somewhere where I can consistently catch fish. I can bring Max out here and we can get out and get some, get some air and some sunlight. And the water was actually, I have a measuring thing on my little float ball that I use, my little sonar ball, 90-degree water, which we never ever get in California. So I was like, it's like a bathtub. You can wade out there. It's really nice, actually. I had no idea fish could live in 90-degree water. But anyway, so there's these submerged bushes, and I'm fishing for these night crawlers the other day. So I go back yesterday thinking, oh, I'll just go back out there. This time I've got a little jig under a bobber because I didn't have night crawlers. I caught a couple, but it wasn't like before. I was like, go figure. Now I understand that this lake that I fish at, the lake levels are always dropping. In fact, let me show you. I'll show you this. Let's take a look here. Where's my lake levels going on here? Okay, here we go. So here's the chart that I use. This is May, June, July, August, September. The blue is this year. These other lines are other years. The purple and the green are other years, but this is the lake levels of Bull Shoals Lake. And as you can see, it peaks in like May, and then the lake level starts dropping all the way down through the fall and the winter. It's like almost to nothing. So anyway, the other day, the lake was a little bit higher, like a foot, and all it took was a foot drop, and next thing you know, the fish weren't there anymore, really. No sooner do I start fishing, some guy pulls up in a truck and starts popping off rounds in the background. And I jumped. I had not heard this before, but here we are in the Midwest, and people exercise their rights, don't they? And at first I was a little startled, and at first I was a little bit angry because I was like, I'm out here fishing. But then I was like, you know what? This guy's exercising his rights. And this is what we need to see more of. This is the way America used to be. When I grew up, we would just hop over a chain link fence over and by the canal and the grape vineyards, and we would pop off our pop sticks when I was like in grade school, and no one said anything about it. And now we live in a much different world, especially in California. So I was happy, but it was like, man, every time this guy would pop off around, he was like right behind me. I was like, I would jump, and I was like, okay, fish are probably gone. And then I left, but the guy said hello. Everyone's really polite around here. I never feel like I'm in any danger. It's just a really neat place to be. And so this is what's going on, you guys. Now, what's going to happen to all these people that have pop sticks? Well, are they really just going to throw away their pop stick? No, they're not. And it's almost like the government is trying to push the envelope. It's almost like they're trying to push for something to happen, aren't they? You can't just one day wake up and make something illegal that before was perfectly legal. People are going to come unglued. Now, do I want them to come unglued? No, I do not. I do not believe in that. But people are going to come unglued. Trust me on this. If they really want to go forward with making all those pop sticks illegal, because a lot of people own them. Well, let's do a little search here. How many let's see how many there are. Oh, it says 5 to 10 million. Okay, so our estimate was conservative, wasn't it? There are 5 to 10 million pop sticks, that the ones that they want to ban in America right now. So take that number that we looked at, $2 billion, and multiply that times 5 or 10. So that's 10 billion or 20 billion. $20 billion to reimburse all those people for their investment. And that's just an average number. Is it going to happen? I don't think so. So that's where everything's at. That's the update. There's a fish story for you guys. Let's go into the chat. Won't be out of their pocket. Right. It'll come out of tax dollars, won't it? There is no discussion. Cannot allow to happen. I agree. All right. Won't be long before they collect all pop sticks. Well, that's what they want to try to do, Sarah, but I'm telling you right now, if they are going to try to do that en masse, it's not going to be pretty. People are going to start organizing. It's just not going to happen. There are people with 2 or 3 of these things. And I'm telling you, I live out here, and it's a different culture here. People are not going to do this. They are not. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're not going to comply with this. I can tell you that right now. And probably this is indicative of in the entire Midwest. there's going to be, and if the government wants to get serious about this and try to enforce this, then what they're going to try to do is send out squads one by one. And as soon as the first disaster happens on one of these squads, all the other people are going to go, oh, wow, we better organize. Now, notice how they're waiting until they have this electronic fence in place. Notice how they could have done this 5 or 10 years ago. They could have done this during the Obama presidency with all of the stuff going on then with pop sticks in schools, remember? They didn't do it then because they did not have the infrastructure in place to track and trace and film and electronically monitor, because they needed the Jive G in place to be able to track these people down, to watch them in real time, and on and on and on. And on and on. Right? And now that they have more of this electronic prison fence created, now they're getting bold, because now they can isolate and identify and control the situation and pretty much do whatever they want. And there's no escape. And even if you're online trying to organize something, they will know about it, and they will descend on you for they'll call conspiracy to oppose they'll call it sedition. Oh, you were talking about organizing against our law. That's sedition. And they'll use the Crapper Hole event as their precedent. And they'll say, we're going to do pre-crime. We're going to go find everyone that's organizing against us. It's pre-crime. And they have dangerous pop sticks. You see how this works now? What they couldn't get away with 10 or 15 years ago, they can totally get away with now because of all the little honey traps that they've set so far. So, if you're watching this show, please listen to the words I'm telling you. Do not fall into this trap. Please do not fall into this trap. If you're a patriot, do not fall into this trap. Okay? Part of how you're being deceived is that you put your trust in a man, Trump, who you believe wants to protect your pop stick, and he does not. It was all a setup. The Crapper Hole was a setup, and if you search your feelings, you will believe and know that that is the case. He came straight out and said that these people need to be brought to justice who went into the Crapper Hole. It's right here on YouTube. You can hear him in his own words condemning the people who went in after he asked them to show up. Do not fall into another one of his traps and wake up. He is not going to save you from all this. He's the one who endorsed the red flag laws that have already taken tens of thousands of pop sticks away from people who just had a moment in their life. A moment, one single moment where they maybe had a nervous breakdown or something. Next thing you know, armed men show up at their door and take their pop stick away based off of a red flag law. Do you see what's happening here now? Have you woken up yet? Trump isn't the one. He's Biff. He's Bifrons. He's a Janice Two-Face. So what is the answer? The answer is Jesus is the answer, but if you had to say what is the answer, is non-participation. Don't believe anything these people say, and don't vote. You're just giving consent. Imagine the message if all of the people on the conservative right woke up, saw this video and woke up finally and said, none of us are voting. And all of a sudden they show a 0.2% voter turnout. And we just tomorrow delegitimize their entire farce. Imagine the message. And of course it won't happen. I live out here and I know that for a fact. Because first of all, YouTube won't allow this video to be seen by millions of people who need to see it. If it isn't obvious by now, these daily uploads that we've done for several years now, breaking down barriers, opening up people's minds, should be a viral channel, shouldn't it? We all know that. And that's not because I'm doing anything special, because the Most High is here trying to wake people up with the Holy Spirit. But the enemy will never, ever let this channel gain traction, ever. So, because if they did let it gain traction, it would change things, wouldn't it? It would change a whole lot of things. They can't delete us because they know that would send a message to people. Oh, well, they deleted him. That means what he was saying must be true. So they just play this little game, don't they? They play this little game. And they just pretend like we're not as legitimate by dumbing down all of our numbers. And that's how all this works. They just turn the dials. It's like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. Go, let's dial this guy down a little bit. He's making too much noise. He's speaking too much truth. We'll just pretend like he doesn't get as many views and doesn't have as many subscribers. And then people will just ignore him. But we all know. We all know. So, that's the truth about all this, you guys. Hopefully, everything came through loud and clear. Let's see what else is going on in the chat here. Cat and mouse game. Yes, Warrior for Truth. Thanks, Eric. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Dark Water. Excited about that show. And we will see you guys in the morning. Take care and be saved if you haven't already. Much love.